Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 130 and 131 in Lalitha Sahasranamam. icChāśakti, Gynānaśakti, kriyāśakti svarūpiṇī, sarvadhārā supratiśhṭhā sadasad-rūpadhāriṇī, aśhṭamūrtir ajājaitrī, lokayātrā vidhāyinī, ekākinī bhūmarūpā, nirdvaitā dvaitavarjitā. Let's take a look at the meanings of the namas in these shlokas. The first nama here is icChāśakti, Gynānaśakti, kriyāśakti, svarūpiṇī. Icha means will or desire. Shakti means power. Jnanam means knowledge, and Shakti again is power. Kriya means action, and Shakti again is power. And svarūpiṇī means in the form of or embodiment of. So icChāśakti, Gynānaśakti, kriyāśakti, svarūpiṇī means she is the embodiment of willpower, power of knowledge, and the power of action. And if you look at it, for anything to happen, there needs to be will, a know-how, and actually an action. Only then it will materialize. Take a simple example, making dinner, right? First of all, we should have the will to cook dinner, right? That is the starting for everything. If that day we feel like, oh, I'm tired or it's boring to make dinner, then you're going to end up ordering outside. So, will is the start of everything. And will alone is not enough, right? Once we decide that we are wanting to make dinner, then there is the know-how or the knowledge. We have to know what we want to cook that day and how to make that happen. So, that know-how is essential. And if you ask many of the housewives, they'll tell you just knowing what to make for that day is the difficult problem to solve, right? We just made this, we just made that. So deciding on what menu to make is the most difficult thing. Of course, the know-how is a very critical component. And then just because we want to cook dinner and we know what we want to make and how to make it, it's not just going to come out of thin air. Actually, we have to get to work and then actually make it. Only then the dinner will show up in the table. Similarly, for everything to happen in this world, will, knowledge, and action are extremely important. And she is that will, knowledge, and action that drives everything in this world. And as human beings, if you see, our desires actually drive us towards something. So, for example, we want to get promoted in our work. So then that is a desire, and that desire moves us forward. And then we find out what are all the things we have to do so that we can get promoted. What are the qualifications? What are the requirements for that promotion? And then once we know that, we actually do that, and then that's how the promotion will be accomplished. So this is true for everything in this world, and that willpower, that icChāśakti, the power of knowledge, the Gynānaśakti, and the power to act or the power of action, kriyāśakti, is none other than Lalitambika herself. The next nama here is sarvadhārā, sarva-ādhārā. Ādhāram means support, and sarva means all. So sarvadhārā means she is the support of all. So she is the support of everything in this universe. She is the foundation of this universe. Supratiśhṭhā. Pratishtha means established, and su means well. So she is well established. So she is well established as the foundation of this universe. Sadasad-rūpadhāriṇī is the next nama. Sad means something that exists, and something that exists perennially or eternally. That means it was true in the past, it's true in the present, and it's true in the future, or it exists forever. That's called as Sad. And the ultimate reality is Sad. So Lalitambika as ultimate reality is Sad. Asad. Asad is the opposite of it. Something that exists, but that exists temporarily. It is true for the present, but it may not be true for the past or the future. So this entire world is considered asad. which may be a bit surprising, right? The world is true, it exists, and as we are all born, this world existed and it will exist beyond us, right? So, how can this world be asad? If you see, this world is constantly changing. So the world as it was in 1 minute is not the same world as it is the next minute. People constantly are born and die. Things continuously change. So while the world seems as perennial for us, it's only because of our lifetime and because we only see a certain portion of it. Whereas all our scriptures say that the worlds also dissolve. So there is always a pralayam that happens, and then there is times when the world again comes up. So that is a cycle that happens, and therefore the world is subject to dissolution, and therefore it is not true. So asad is this world and everything in this world. Rūpadhāriṇī. Rūpam means form. Dhāriṇī means bearing. So she bears the form of everything in this universe. So she is both the Sad, who is the ultimate reality, and she also bears the form of everything that is Asad, which is all the things in this universe. So she is both one and all the things in this universe, and she has both those forms. If we look at this icChāśakti, Gynānaśakti, kriyāśakti, svarūpiṇī, sarvadhārā, supratiśhṭhā, sadasad-rūpadhāriṇī, that actually explains the tattvam. And there are 36 tattvas, and the tattva always starts with the ultimate reality, and Shiva and Shakti are the two complementary aspects. From those two complementary aspects come the three icChāśakti, Gynānaśakti and kriyāśakti. And this entire manifestation, the cause of this manifestation is the will of that ultimate reality. The will of that ultimate reality to be many. So that is the cause. And then the ultimate reality decides all the different forms it wants to take. And if you see, there are so many lakhs and lakhs of species in this universe. Each one has a unique characteristic. It has a way of coming into life. It has a way of sustaining its life, and a way it perishes. So these are all the know-how, and then the actual manifestation happens, which is the kriyāśakti. Therefore, she is that ultimate reality, and that supratiśhṭhā, sarvadhārā, the ultimate reality that is the foundation of everything, that is firmly established as the transcendent reality. That's something beyond our experience. And that ultimate reality that's firmly established, that is beyond our experience, also materializes as the asad-rūpa. So all the different forms that we see in this universe is the manifestation of that ultimate reality. So that explains the principles of creation, how the descent of creation happened. Obviously, after the first 5 steps, which is Shiva, Shakti, the icChāśakti, kriyāśakti and Gynānaśakti, a very important principle comes into play, which is called as Maya. That Maya creates a ignorance, a fundamental ignorance. That is the reason for the fundamental ignorance that is a part of a birth. And all of us who are the manifested forms, and everything that's a manifested form, forgets that it is one and the same as the ultimate reality. So the first sloka here, 130, also references the principles that are the part of the descent of creation, or the principles of reality called tattvam. aśhṭamūrtir. Aśhta means 8, Murti means form. So she is in 8 forms. So Shiva is supposed to have 8 forms, and they correspond with the different elements, the Panchabhutam, and also with the ego, intellect and mind. So those are the 8 forms of Shiva. And the earth form is called as Sarva, and the water form is called as Bhava, fire form is called as Rudra, the air form is called as Ugra, and the sky is called as Bhima, and the ego or the soul is called as Pasupati, and then the intellect is called as Isana and is also considered as the Surya sun, and the mind is called as Mahadeva, and it is also considered as moon Chandralingam. So these are the 8 forms of Shiva. And in each form of Shiva, Shakti is his energy. And therefore, she is in the 8 forms as Shiva's Shakti. So aśhṭamūrtir means 8 forms of Shiva and the Shakti associated with that. And if you see, because of the effect of Maya, these are all the things that are happening, the next steps in the Tattva. These are also principles of reality. Another way to look at aśhṭamūrtir is that she is also the Aśhtamatrikas. So she is Brahmi, Maheshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Mahendri, Chamunda and Mahalakshmi. These are all the Aśhtamatrikas. And these Aśhtamatrikas came up in the Kaushiki, Shumba Nishumbhavada, and then they were responsible for destroying Shumba and Nishumba. So Shumba and Nishumba are nothing but the ignorance and the ego of the mind and the anger and the delusion and the jealousy that it all creates. And therefore, as Aśhtamatrika, she is one who destroys ignorance. And that leads us to the next nama, ajājaitrī. Aja means something that's not born. Jaitri means one who conquers, winner. So ajājaitrī means one who conquers ignorance. So ignorance is considered as aja. And if you see, why is ignorance or avidya considered as aja? So if you look at it, the fundamental ignorance that we do not know, or the manifested forms do not recognize their oneness with that ultimate reality, right? So the principle of Advaita says there is only one reality in this world. That one reality is manifesting in all the different forms that we see. So it's almost like an actor playing multiple roles. The actor may behave in a certain way, the actor may talk in a certain way, the actor may have certain characteristics that are required by the script for that particular role, but the actor is the real thing and the role is simply a projection of that actor. So similarly, there is only one ultimate reality, and everything that we see in the universe, whether it is a living thing or non-living thing, everything animate or inanimate, then all of that is nothing other than that ultimate reality's projection. So, but because of the effect of Maya, everything that is in this world does not recognize its oneness with that ultimate reality. So that ignorance is foundational. In every birth, that ignorance follows, right? And a person cannot say when their first birth was. Nobody who's born can say when their first birth was. Therefore, it is impossible to say when it was born, right? When this ignorance was born. And that's why that ignorance is called as unborn or aja. While the ignorance is unborn, you can call it as anadi. But the ignorance definitely has an end. That's why it's anadi but not ananta. It has an end. And when does that end? When one pursues the sadhana and recognizes their oneness with the Devi, then at that point, Devi, through her grace, removes that ignorance and that person achieves what's called as enlightenment. And at that point, they attain mukti. So, ajājaitrī means one who helps us win the ignorance or conquer ignorance, or one who has conquered ignorance. So, ajājaitrī. The next nama here is lokayātrā vidhāyinī. Lokam means this world. Yatra means journey. Vidhāyinī means one who makes it happen. One who regulates it, one who enables it, one who directs it. So, lokayātrā vidhāyinī means one who enables the journey of all the born souls through this world. That means she is the one who's directing them towards that liberation. So she guides the journey of everything that's born in this universe. Ekākinī. Ekākinī means alone. In this context, you can say she is only one, a single. There is no other. So she is ekākinī. As the ultimate reality, she is the only thing that exists in this universe. Bhūmarūpā. Bhūma means many or multitude, several or everything. So Bhūma Rūpa means form. So she is in the form of many. So she is the ultimate reality, and in that she is single with no equal to her or with no second to her. So therefore she is ekākinī. But at the same time, she is bhūmarūpā and she has many forms and she is everything in this universe. Nirdvaitā. Nir is a negation. Dvaita means duality or dualism. Dualism means the awareness of something other than us, or awareness of something else exists other than us, which is the reality for all of us. If you see, we are all in the duality. Where is that duality? We have our own identity, which we call as I. And then we see everything around us as rest of the world. So every day, our experience is none other than this identity interacting with the outside world, and that forms our experience and that becomes our reality. Therefore, we are all firmly in the duality, the dual nature. Nirdvaitā means one who is without duality, and for her, as the ultimate reality, there is no concept of duality. She is not even aware of anything other than second. And just because she is not aware of something, that doesn't mean there is something exists. Dvaitavarjitā. Dvaita again is duality. Varjitā means devoid of or free from. Just because nirdvaitā says that she is not even aware of anything other than her, but that's not because there is something else that exists and she is not aware. She is completely without a second. So dvaitavarjitā, the duality as a concept itself doesn't apply to her. She is transcending duality and she is beyond duality because there is nothing other than her in this universe. And therefore nirdvaitā is without duality and dvaitavarjitā means beyond duality. So with that, we have seen the meanings of all the namas in these two shlokas. Now we'll take a look at a small story related to the nama aśhṭamūrtir. So we said aśhṭamūrti means she is the Shakti of Shiva who is in 8 forms. And we said those forms are Sarva, Bhava, Rudra, Ugra, Bhima, Pashupati, Ishana and Mahadeva. So she is the Shakti of Shiva in all of this. Now today we'll look at a small story related to the Bhava form of Shiva, which is nothing but the related to the element water. And so it's called as Varunalingam or Appulingam. So once there was a sage called Sage Jambu. And the Sage Jambu was an ardent devotee of Shiva. And Sage Jambu once found a fruit. And in Tamil, it is called as Navalpalam. Navalpalam is also in Sanskrit called as Jambu Palam. And it is called as Indian blackberry or the jamun fruit. It is kind of deep blue in color. It's a dark blue, almost close to black. And it has a very sour and bitter taste. And it also leaves a lot of color in our teeth if you eat it. So, but this sage found a Naval param. So it is a Ven means white. So it's an exceedingly rare one, and he found a white jambu fruit. And once he found something so rare, and he is a great devotee of Shiva, the first thought that came to him was, let me offer this to Shiva. So he offered this to Shiva, and Shiva, because of the devotion of Sage Jambu, went ahead and accepted it. He ate the fruit and he spit the seed. And Sage Jambu saw this, and the seed was spit by Shiva. And he thought, oh, that's a great prasadam. It came directly from the mouth of Shiva. So immediately he took that seed and he ate it. Sage Jambu ate the seed. And as Sage Jambu ate the seed, suddenly from his head, a white jambu tree started to grow. So a Naval maram, a Naval tree started to grow out of him. So the jambu tree started to grow out of him. And Sage Jambu considered it his great fortune that he was able to carry the seed that Shiva spit, and now that's growing on his head. And so the sage immediately fell at Shiva's feet and he said, you know what, this tree is growing in my head, and I want you to take residence under that tree. I want you to reside forever under this tree. So Shiva was very pleased with the devotion of Jambu sage, and he said, at the right time, I will take residence under that. You continue your penance and you continue in this way. So sage Jambu for thousands of years was doing penance, and the tree started to grow and it became part of him. So he became that tree. So that was growing. So then while this was happening, once Shiva and Parvati were in Kailasha, and as we know, Shiva is frequently in penance, right? And Shiva's penance sustains this universe, and he is always doing that penance for the good of the universe. So Shiva was on a penance, and this time he had gone on for a long time, and Parvati was getting a bit bored. And so she went near him and she said, "What is this, Shiva? All the time you're doing penance. What are you doing like that? So what if you just stop it for some time?" And then Shiva opened his eyes and he said, "You know what, Parvati, you should know why I'm doing this penance, and this is something that's good for the universe, and as the Lokamata, you should have had more regard for this penance and you should not be complaining. I think there is more for you to learn. Therefore, you go down to the earth and you do penance towards me, and then I will impart the knowledge of why I am doing this penance to you. So you go down to the earth and start to prepare yourself so that you can be ready to receive that knowledge." So then Parvati came down to the earth and she came to this particular place where the white jamun tree was. It's also called as rose apple in English. So the white a blackberry or white Indian blackberry tree was in there. She came there, and it was near the river Kaveri, which is also called as Punni. And so she took the water from the river Kaveri, and then out of that she made a lingam, and immediately that water crystallized into a lingam. So under the jambu tree there was this lingam, and she did all the puja for that, and therefore this lingam is made out of water and it is called as Appulingam. And that's where Parvati did her penance, and then Shiva was happy with her penance, and therefore he came down to earth, and then he gave her all the Shiva Jnana and the reason he was doing the penance, etc. So this place became known as the Upadesasthalam. And many years passed by, and there were two Shivaganas, Malayavan and Pushpadanta. These two Shivaganas were in service of Shiva, but they never got along well with each other. They were always fighting with each other. One day, they had to go to the garden and get some flowers, and Malayavan and Pushpadanta started to fight. I only will take this flower, you don't touch this side, and they both started quarreling with each other. But on that particular day, the fight escalated significantly, and they went to blows with each other, and with the significant fight, they killed each other and both of them died. And Shiva was really, they were great Shivaganas, but they couldn't get along with each other. And after they were dead, they had to take the next birth. And both of them were born in the earth, and one was born as an elephant and the other one was born as a spider. And it so happened that the elephant and the spider also found this lingam, the Appulingam, that was under the Vennaval tree. So they both came there, and because they are Shivaganas, doing puja for Shiva is ingrained in them, and even though it was an elephant and it was a spider, they both went ahead and did puja. So every day this elephant would go to the Kaveri river, get the water from there, and it will clean all the things around the Shiva. Shiva is under the tree, so it will clean everything around Shiva, put the Kaveri water there, and then it will pray to Shiva and it will go. The spider also came to the same place, and when the spider came, it was an afternoon, and then saw that all the leaves from the tree were falling on Shiva, and all the sunlight was hitting Shiva directly. So The spider immediately thought, you know what, I need to protect Shiva from all this dirt falling on him, the leaves, the dry leaves falling on him. So it immediately built a web around Shiva, so that a web above Shiva, so that if the leaves fall, the web will catch it and it won't fall on Shiva. So that's how it tried to make sure. And the spider was really happy. Next morning, this elephant came, and as usual, he was trying to clean all the stuff around. There weren't many leaves, but he cleaned what was there. And he looked at looked at Shiva. There was a cobweb above Shiva. And as you all know, cobwebs are considered as dust or dirt, right? And we will not allow cobwebs near God, right? We keep the place clean. So immediately, this elephant thought, oh my gosh, there is cobweb around Shiva. So with its trunk, it cleaned all the cobwebs, again cleaned all the place, poured the water, did the abhishekam for the lingam, and then went back on its way. The spider came and then again saw all the leaves on Shiva and thought, oh, yesterday I built a cobweb just to protect Shiva from all these leaves. What happened to the cobweb? And it was gone. So again the spider made the cobweb. Then this started repeating. Every afternoon, the elephant will come, clear everything, and then do the puja and go. And when the spider comes and sees its cobweb would have been cleared away, it will build it again. And then the spider got a bit annoyed. Who is this who's always, destroying all the cobwebs that I'm building? So he waited one day to see what was happening and saw that the elephant came and got the cobweb away. So then the spider told the elephant, you know what, I'm building this cobweb so that leaves don't fall on Shiva. You do not mess that up. You have no right to cut that web every day. But the elephant said, who even has a cobweb around the god? That is considered as dirt. That's what I will do. If you build a cobweb every day, I will destroy your cobweb. And the spider got really upset, and therefore it immediately got through the trunk, and then it went and bit the elephant. And elephants cannot take it if something goes in their ears, or even a small ant goes in their ears, they cannot take it. And therefore the elephant immediately died. And when the elephant died, the spider inside it also died. So both of them were dead. And then both of them again went back to Kailasa. And this time, if you see, the elephant did not do anything. The elephant was simply cleaning the whole thing, and the elephant was faultless in this interaction. And therefore, Shiva said, what do you want? What is the boon that you want? And then the elephant said, the place where I worshipped you should be known by my name. And therefore, that place began to be known as Thiruvaanaikka. Thiruvaanaikka. Thiru means with respect. Aanai means elephant in Tamil, and Ka is short for Kaadu, which is forest. So it came to be known as Thiruvaanaikka. And today we all know that place as Thiruvaanaikkaval or Thiruvaanaikkoyil. So it became known. And the spider actually went and hurt the elephant and did something on purpose, and because of which the spider had to take birth again. It had another birth. But the spider was also in service of Shiva and was only doing everything and had built cobwebs to prevent the leaves from falling on Shiva, etc. Therefore had acquired a lot of punyam, and because of which the spider was born as a king in the next birth. So there was a Chola king called Subhadevan, and his wife's name is Kamalavati. And Subhadevan and Kamalavati did not have children for a very long time. So they were praying to Shiva, and all the Chola kings are ardent Shiva devotees. So they were praying to Shiva, and by the grace of Shiva, Kamalavati conceived. And it was none other than that spider that bit the elephant. So when Kamalavati conceived and she was due to deliver, and at that time the astrologers in the palace said that, if the delivery would happen a few hours later, then this baby will go on to become a king that can rule all the three worlds and will become a great emperor. And so immediately, but Kamalavati's labor had already started, and she wanted to somehow postpone this delivery, and so she asked for her maids to hang her upside down. So she was in labor, but her leg was tied and she was hanging upside down, and she held on to it until the time that was predicted by the astrologers. And at the right time that was predicted, she gave birth to a child. And because the uh, mother was hanging upside down, the baby was born with bloodshot eyes. So the eyes were really red. So when the mother looked at the baby, she said, Ko Senkannano. In Tamil, Ko means the king. So the emperor was born, and that's why she was hanging upside down and delaying her labor. Senkannano. Senkan means red eyes. So she looked at his eyes and she said, Oh, the king has red eyes. And that's what she said. And of course, because of being upside down and delaying the labor and all that, Queen Kamalavati died immediately after childbirth. And that particular baby went on to become the Ko-Sengananan. So he is a Ko-Sengan Cholan. So he was the spider that was born as the king. And Ko-Senganan was an ardent Shiva devotee. He went on to build about 70 Shiva temples, and he built the temple that is there today in Trichy. It's called as Thiruvannaikkaval, and he built that particular temple. And it is said that he carried his hatred towards the elephant even through his next birth. And it is said that the temple is built in such a way that no elephant can ever reach the temple. So that temple stands today in Trichy, and the Shiva there is called as Jambukeshwarar, and Shakti there is called as Akhilandeshwari, and the Lingam is called as Appulingam. Appu or Appa in Sanskrit means water. So it is a water lingam, and it's said that there is a perennial water that's going under that lingam, and people are not able to find the source of it. So that is the story of Shiva as the Jambukeshwarar, as the water element, Varuna Lingam or Appulingam. And this particular temple has more than that. Adi Shankaracharya installed Ganesha in front of Akhilandeshwari. It is said that the Akhilandeshwari's Ugram was significant, right? Because she had been doing penance there, and that's when Shiva gave her the Upadesam. The Ugram was significant, and so he installed Ganesha in front of her so that her Ugram will come down. And this particular place is called as Upadesasthala, because when Shiva came as a result of the penance of Parvati as Akhilandeshwari, he gave her the Shiva Jnana. So in all the temples, they will do the Shiva and Parvati wedding. But in this particular place, Shiva is standing there like a guru, and Akhilandeshwari is like a student learning from him. And therefore, there is no marriage that is conducted in this particular temple. And one of the unique things about this temple is that Akhilandeshwari is in 3 forms throughout the day. In the morning, she is Lakshmi, in the afternoon, she is Parvati, and in the night, she is Saraswati. And so every afternoon as Parvati, she goes and does a puja for Shiva, because she was doing penance in this place. So even now, the priest gets dressed like a woman, they wear a sari, and then they go and do the puja for Shiva, and they also do puja for a cow at that time. So that is one of the specialities of Thiruvannaikkaval. So in Thiruvannaikkaval, Jambukeshwarar and Akhilandeshwari are giving darshan, and they make everything possible. And Akhilandeshwari, Akhila Anda Ishwari, she is the queen of the universe, and she is that ultimate reality who's residing here. That's all for today. Thank you.